One of the things I had always been told is to picture your target reader as an actual person and target your audience to that individual person, that one person.
Writing a book is hard enough, but marketing feels impossible. And, we get a lot of comments of how do I find readers? How do I write a blurb? What's the secret to Amazon rankings? This is a tool that just helps you figure that out.
Write fan fiction of your own book. And the reason why is it really helps you get out of your head because
when we're talking about BookFunnel promos, you're trying to find other authors writing in your same niche. Because I think for some of those niche promos, again, it's kind of forest through the trees sort of thing. Hey folks, welcome to the BookFunnel podcast, where indie authors get real-world advice on writing, publishing, and growing a career on their own terms. Whether you're just starting out or you're deep into your author journey, we're here to help you build your readership, boost your book sales, and connect with your audience. Each episode, we aim to bring you insights from authors, experts, and industry insiders who've been there, done that, and then some. And I am joined today, as always, by my co-hosts, Kelly Tansey and Emma Allison. This episode is episode 16, and we are joined today by Bekah Brinkmeier of AutoCrit.
Hello.
Bekah, welcome back to the pod.
Thank you. It's so much fun to be here.
Yes, for those of you who don't know, we had Bekah on a few episodes ago, somewhat recently, actually.
Yeah.
And we had a fun conversation centering around dictation and some other stuff, AutoCrit also, and how you can use that in your writing process. And we're here to have Bekah back to talk about one of AutoCrit's new features, which is called Market Fuel. We'll get to that here in a little bit. I just want to tease it. Maybe if you want to give the folks at home, maybe who haven't heard of AutoCrit just in general,
Sure.
Before we dive in here, just give them kind of an idea of what it is and how it can help them.
Oh, you're going to put me on the spot and have me give my elevator speech.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, I am prepared. So AutoCrit is a platform where writers of every level can come to plan, write, edit, analyze, and then now format your work for publication. So we have folks that are part of our platform that have never written a book and they're still working on book one. We have folks that are writing a book every month and everyone in between. And we have kind of that one-stop online home for authors. So we can walk with you through that whole process. And we have craft classes if you need to look at your genres and different parts of the craft, as well as fun challenges and a vibrant community and all kinds of good stuff as part of AutoCrit Pro.
Yeah. You and I recently made an appearance
You did.
on, I can't remember what you guys, because we have our own terminology. We were talking about getting more reviews, and I was there to talk to some of your authors about that. It was fun because I'm used to, in a webinar setting, I'm used to being in the driver's seat. And it was kind of odd for me to be like, oh, I'm just along for the ride. And then Bekah threw it to me, and hopefully I did well. I hope I gave them some good information on how BookFunnel can help them with that.
Oh, yes. Lots of positive reviews for your appearance for our marketing how-to series. So thank you again for coming on.
Absolutely. Anytime. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoy talking about BookFunnel whenever I get the chance. So, I'm always down for that sort of thing. So, like we traditionally do here at the beginning of each episode, we kind of catch up with each other on what we've been doing. Of course, all of us here are authors. Some of our guests sometimes aren't, so it depends. Sometimes they're, members of the industry, but maybe not an author. But in this case, today, we all are. So we like to catch up and see how everybody's been doing.
So writing has been going really well. Emma really turned me on to Chris Downing, who we had on the podcast as a coach, and wow, he's really, really helping me kind of get out of my own head and do it. In fact, part of what we've done together, I'm going to share as my tip. But I have a goal of getting 4 chapters completed this week, and between work and then the stuff that I have going on in personal life. And I'm good. I'm doing pretty good. So
awesome.
I'm excited about that.
It's
deal. Working. Yeah.
Sometimes you just need an outside perspective. And I imagine you'll share more details about that. I'm sure that Chris is not just like, what am I trying to say here? He's not just, harassing you. He's giving you some actual insights into.
No, he's giving some really great tips. And
yes, exactly. Yeah. So it's not that you just need somebody like on your back, beating you over the head. I remember I remember Damon and I were working on a project together at one point, and yeah, I was doing the bulk of the writing, and he had a particular method of motivating me. There was one night I stayed up until 5 a.m. because I'm like, I've just got to get this thing done, and I got it done anyway. That's enough about me.
Yeah.
Emma, how have the words been flowing for you?
Well, ironically, my tip also integrates Sensei Chris as well, because he's been my coach for years now. And we're at that phase in coaching where you use them a lot for a sounding board to like run your crazy ideas. And if he sees you going off into the la la land of things, that haven't worked in the past, he'll kindly pull you back like, that is this. But anyway, one of the ideas we were kind of tossing around, which is my tip too, is to write fan fiction of your own book. And the reason why is right now I'm in the middle of editing a couple projects that are on the same world. Editing takes a lot of mind space and energy for me. And then there's also the day job. So like, yesterday, the day job was really full. I didn't have the energy for editing because it's a lot of deep thinking, but I had the energy to do a quick 3,000 words. It was on my fan fiction project. And when I say fan fiction, it's because it's set in my world. I know the characters. I know the magic system. I can pull in all of those elements that I'm already aware of. Just like if you're writing fan fiction, you don't have to think about any of that. You just spitball the story. You can have a general idea. So I came up with a pet necromancer, cozy detective serial, and her baby daddy is a dragon shifter, a fey dragon shifter. So it's going well, but it really helps you get out of your head because like Chris mentioned last time, when you're learning dictation to just have a throwaway project, the same principle, just have a for fun project that you can just, and it's going well.
Absolutely.
I want to read it. Sold. I'm like, tell me more.
I'm having a blast, and it's warmer than what I usually do because I'm a really grim, dark writer, but this one is warm and funny and a little quirky, and I think that's the right choice because you need that palate cleanser between like writing the darker and grimmer stuff. You need something light where you just like, and yeah.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah. Becca, what about you? I know your pen names are something that you keep secret, so we're not going to ask you about specific projects and that sort of thing. But how have things been going for you lately? Obviously, you can probably understand, like Emma was talking about, the work-life balance of being a writer and then, working for a company in the indie publishing industry is. But yeah, I can relate to Emma where sometimes you're thinking so much about when you're doing the day job that when it comes time to actually do your own writing, it can be tough.
Sometimes, yeah, there's definitely a balance. I have felt like it's a little out of balance this last it's towards the end of the school year. I've got kids, so it's towards the end of the school year. The weather's finally nice. It's hard to be inside sometimes. I want to like go putter around in my garden, and So I do, as we talked about last time, I do a lot of dictation. I am a power user of our dictation feature, and that's how I get a majority of my words. Unfortunately, I had a little hilarious mishap. I was in the flow. I was on my tablet downstairs, and I have a toddler who is obsessed with Blippi, and I forgot to turn dictation off when he went to go get a snack. So the entire, like a good portion of the episode of Blippi is now in my dark rom-com, and that sums up my writing process right now.
Oh boy!
And it didn't know what to do with like that strange little giggle that happens, and so it just like puts words in, and I was like, that's going to be great. We're going to just have fun editing that. So that's kind of where I'm at. I've been a little bit down on my word count this month, but I've been having a lot of fun with a lot of our stuff. I got to go to Writer MBA with AutoCrit last month in New Orleans, and that was super fun. So it's been good.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. For my part,
more Blippi.
And no more Blippi.
No more Blippi.
Oh yes, I could see myself
you get
doing
that
something like
taken
that
out.
too. Yeah. I don't know. Who knows? There could be some source material that could be useful, but I don't know.
No.
Boy. For my part, writing's going well. Becca, I kind of owe you one because I have been doing, there's a number of people who have mentioned dictation. So it's not just you, but I know you do the dictation on the go a lot. And that's kind of, I'm like, okay, I've been piecing some things together. I have been dictating and I cannot look back. It finally clicked for me. It finally clicked.
I love it.
And I think we were talking about this when we had Chris on by the time this episode is released, it's not going to be the most recent episode. In fact, the episode immediately before this one is the Jamie episode, where all the Jamies come on the podcast. That's another story. But we had Chris on. We talked about it. By that point, I was kind of putting some pieces of the puzzle together. But anyway, I want to thank you for that because it's just made the act of writing, like literally, like, okay, I'm gonna write now, much. I want to say, and I don't want to jinx myself, but almost effortless, at least compared to the way it used to feel. And so it's been going great. I've been picking up the pace and getting more words in a shorter amount of time, and I'm really, really liking that. Really liking that. So thank you.
It's fantastic. Yeah, you're welcome. It's a game changer, especially when you have stuff going on around you and you're, I don't always have 6 hours to dedicate to writing and sit down. Like, I don't remember the last time I had 6 hours to myself where like I had no distractions around me.
Right.
No.
Right.
So yeah, dictation's where it's at.
Yeah, I've got 3 young kids, so I totally hear you.
Yeah.
And in fact, one of the things where it's actually helped me, the dictation aspect, because I'm actually using a voice recorder. And so there's no screen. It's not transcribing instant. Like I can't see the text. So it's not speech to text, which I know some people, when they think of dictation, that's kind of what they assume. And I personally have found that distracting in the past for myself. So I'm just recording myself. And my son has like doctor's appointments, some frequency therapy appointments and things like that. And it's a bit of a drive to his school. I've basically been reclaiming some of that time, where I'm like driving to like take him to school or to go to one of his doctor's appointments. And I'm getting back like an hour or sometimes more of my time on those days. And it's like, wow, it feels great to be able to kind of recapture that. And that's not something you can do if you're typing. I mean, not something you can do safely if you're typing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, what I think is nice, because there's been an evolution of Jack since the beginning of the podcast, where he was like, dictation, I don't know if I could do it. I tried it once. Yeah. It was awful. And then now we're kind of revolved. So if you are unsure if you can do it, Jack is like a case study in how you can do it. You just have to get past how awkward it feels and slow down to let your brain process the sentences you want to make. And I think, I actually dictated. That was part of it. I had a drive yesterday to come home from California, and I was by myself, and I dictated the whole trip, and I got 1,800 words just in the 45-minute drive, just to and that would have been dead time. I wouldn't have had that time back. So
exactly.
Now, you've said something else key, Jack, that I think is worth extracting, is how you're doing it. You're reclaiming those minutes. And if any of you have heard of Monica Leonel, she has a book called 8 Minutes an Hour, something like that. But it's all about how an 8-minute sprint every hour or whatever throughout the day adds up. And I've had days that were so full, but I did 5 minutes here, 8 minutes here. At the end of the day, I totaled it up. It was like 2,000 words. Like, that combined with dictation, it can be a lifesaver. Those little reclaimed moments, driving or whatever.
Right. Exactly.
Or on the toilet if you're a mom and have young children.
Yes.
Writing, have your phone, just writing.
Right.
They'll give you about 3 minutes. You've got about 3 minutes.
And to Kelly's point, to be safe, yes, let me clarify. I've shown this on a previous episode of the podcast. This is the voice recorder I use. It does have a screen, but there's no notifications that I get on this thing. There's nothing that I would really want to I'm not going to fiddle with. I'm not texting people on this. I'm just driving and holding it here by my chin, or it's literally seated like on my lap or something, and it can pick up my voice quite well. So I am not having to do a whole lot while I'm driving. It's not like I'm on my phone. That would be way more distracting. So yes, to Kelly's point, I should emphasize that since I'm talking about dictating while I'm driving. But hey, I talk to myself when I drive anyway. I was already doing that. Yeah. So.
Well, I just use hands-free for mine. So I'll open it up in the browser. I'll make sure my hotspot's going. I'll set it away from me in hands-free. And then I have a little Bluetooth earpiece thing.
Right.
Connect it to Bluetooth, and I have both hands on the wheel. I'm not looking at what it is because it goes black. The screen goes black, and I just carry on my way.
Exactly. Now, I think this is a more rudimentary version of this type of technology. There's probably something out there that could connect to my headphones. I just okay, let me try this. I bought a cheap one and it works, but I might have to upgrade one of these days. My birthday's coming up, so honey, if you're watching.
What is your plan to getting it off the voice recorder to your document?
So the beautiful thing is it transfers USB-C right to my
Oh, okay.
computer, and it's an AAC format, which isn't like super ideal, but it takes up less space. And I use TurboScribe. I know when we talked to Chris, he talked about just even using like voice memos on like your phone and that sort of thing. But I actually like having my phone separate. Like I'm actually listening to music when I'm doing the dictating, and so it's kind of its own separate thing. So having the separate device for me makes sense. But then TurboScribe, it's free for starters. You can use it for 3 transcriptions a day, each of those up to 30 minutes. So for somebody who's doing a modest amount of dictation, it's nice. I went with their Pro plan because then it's unlimited. And it's kind of nice because before I went with that, and I was also using this to transcribe. Like whenever I do webinars, I'll do the same thing, and I'll basically give the webinar to myself multiple times and then take notes from that. And I was transcribing it with TurboScribe. I'm like, oh, I can use this for my writing too. And it's freeing to have the unlimited because you can do a 20-minute session and you don't feel like, oh well, I should have made that at 30 minutes long because one of my transcriptions per day has to be a maximum of 30 minutes. And but there's other software out there that other people can use, but that's just what I found works for me. But there's plenty of other tools. So that's how I've been doing it anyway. And so far it's working pretty well. All right, so let's get on to our first segment today, the self-publishing tips from the trenches. In this segment, we share with you some self-publishing and indie author related tips. Of course, Emma, Kelly, and myself are BookFunnel experts, being members of the BookFunnel author support team. Bekah, of course, is part of the industry as well, and she has plenty of professional experience advising authors on all sorts of things. So we've got plenty of tips to share with you, either from the publishing side, marketing, and even writing related tips. It's kind of a free-for-all, so sometimes the tips are not necessarily related, and we do not share them with each other ahead of time. So if one of us happens to have the same tip as somebody else, it is an accident. It's just the way it goes. Kelly, you were talking about your tip earlier. I want to hear what you said. This has something to do with Coach Chris, if I'm not mistaken.
I hope he's okay with me sharing this. I feel like it's actually pretty intuitive. So one of the things that we're focusing on rather than word count is scenes. How many scenes are you going to get done? How many chapters will you get done? Like set your goal to a different thing than it needs to be, 2,000 words or something like that. Because not all your chapters are going to be the same length. Some are going to be longer, shorter, whatever. So it's really more about making that progress and looking at your everything in a different light. Like it doesn't matter that you didn't write 2,000 words because you got a chapter completed, or it doesn't matter that, it was only 1,300 words. That's okay because it was. So just sort of switching gears and thinking about things in a different way. So thanks, Coach Chris.
I noticed when you were talking about what you've been working on lately, you mentioned how many chapters you had planned.
Yes.
And so I wondered, that was the first clue that might be like, I wonder if that's what she's thinking.
I've got three, well, 2.5. I wouldn't say a half. I've got maybe another, I don't know, a few paragraphs left of the chapter I was currently, the one that I dictated yesterday. So I've still got some things to write on that, and then I'll have my 3 out of my 4. So I'm pretty excited because I could probably knock out that other one and the next day and a half before I meet with him. And it's nice to have somebody, like, if you have an accountability partner, because I do feel like, my husband's not an author. I don't have authors around me except for you guys. And it's nice to have like an accountability partner who's like, hey, how did that go? And then being a positive, there's no negativity to it. It's just, well, if you didn't reach your goal, that's okay. You still made a lot of progress and that's okay. So I think that's kind of, he doesn't do like the daily grind, like, what did you do today? Yeah. It's more of a gentle check-in and say, like, how you doing and how's it going and how's the writing, and then celebrating when there's a win. And that, I think it's nice if it's another author or coach or anything like that. Like, you don't have to have a coach. You can just have a good author friend that understands the struggle that can sometimes come from full-time family, full-time writing, trying to write while you've, got doctor's appointments for kids and all the things. So yeah, it's really nice to just, if you can, find an accountability partner and then just kind of switch up how you think about your goal. Like when you goal set, don't look at it as word count or whatever. Think about it as, what progress did I make?
Yeah. Word count is deceptive too, because you can get in the mindset of thinking, well, like each chapter needs to be a certain minimum word count. And then you start to like fluff up a chapter more than it needs to be, or you make
And then
the
when you
scene a little bit longer.
Right. And then when you come back to edit, your edit voice is there. They're like, why did you write this? This
Yeah.
was a waste of time. Like, you didn't need
for
all
sure.
this. And you're going to cut it
Exactly.
out anyway. So, yeah, I mean, making it intentional too, especially.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good way to look at it. It's a good way to look at it. Becca, you're up next. What do you got
Alrighty.
for us?
So one of the things I've been talking with my coaching clients about lately has been writer's block. We all get it from time to time. Mine tends to happen like when I'm on a deadline and I have like 4 chapters left, and then my brain's like, no, thank you. We would like to do something else.
That's like the worst possible time too. Yeah.
Well, my brain has never been anything remotely convenient. One of the things that I like to do for that is to write a scene that is kind of intermixing something very ordinary and something bizarre. I have a wacky sense of humor. I like to do things. I love leaning into the weird a little bit, and sometimes this clash of an everyday situation with something like completely outlandish is it forces you to think creatively in a different way, and you can really jumpstart your writing. So like maybe you're writing a scene, you're in a long line at the DMV, and the person behind you decides to tell you that they can communicate with pigeons or something of that nature. Now, having been in our DMV, that could actually happen, but some interesting characters in there. But something like that, and then follow that scene. Follow it, write it, do something bizarre. It may not ever make it into anything that you are working on, but I find if I do that in one of my worlds that I've created, I have just created some fantastic newsletter bonus content that is so weird, and my readers are like, I don't know what just happened here, and I don't know if I want more or if I am like concerned for your health. But it gets me through the writer's block, and it's just kind of fun. I think sometimes we take ourselves too seriously as authors.
For sure.
How many times have we kind of just like had the angst over a word choice or been like, is this good enough? Or am I going to do this correctly? When really we could be narrating a conversation with a pigeon.
Yeah.
That's my advice. Be weird. It helps your writer's block.
Yes. Yeah. The pigeon, like, I'm just imagining. Man, I think that's everybody's homework is to write a scene in your universe talking to a pigeon.
With a pigeon shifter. I want to see it.
Oh my goodness.
No one asked for it, but they need it.
Nobody asked for it, but right. Well, and it's kind of like you're getting to, it's like because there's kind of, I imagine you go with the ridiculous premise because there's kind of like an innate hook to it of just the preposterousness of it. Like, well, okay, that's interesting. And so you can just easily go down that road, and then it gets you writing, and you're kind of those creative juices, or however you want to refer to them, I don't know, everybody's different.
Yeah.
They start flowing, you know what I mean? So yeah, talking to
Well, I mean, if you think about
if it works.
If you have like the act of writing, you are taking something and you have an idea that comes in your head at any given point, and you are bringing it to life on the page. And there is a certain talent to being able to bring to life the weirdest thing you can think of. Right. And it can, maybe that is the pigeon shifter. Maybe apparently I'm into birds today. So it's the seagull shifter that owns a French fry stand at the beach. Like,
there you go.
You could make this work, and even though it has nothing to do with what you're doing, your creativity is going to be stimulated in a different way, and all of a sudden whatever it is you were trying to write does not feel as hard.
Right.
Or
Exactly.
as weird.
I think too, like there's a lot of people, even if you're not able like to get your head space into something wacky, it's just using like word prompts or prompts that you find on like social media has a lot of them. Often they'll have, just write this kind of a story. It has nothing to do with what you're doing. It has nothing, but it just is it's just designed to like make you think about writing and it being creative and getting creativity going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll actually leave you a link, and you could put it in the chat. But we actually have a book of 1,001 fiction writing prompts that is just free on our website. If you ever get stuck, let me put the link in our little chat here so that you can have it. But sometimes you just need someone else to tell you what to write.
Exactly. And that's a useful way to, again, you're kind of clearing out the blockage, if you will. It makes sense. And at the same time, you don't necessarily have to just throw that away. That short little scene, whatever it is, it's perfect newsletter content. That's great. It's kind of two birds with one stone to stay on the theme of birds, right?
Birds.
I mean, and BookFunnel, since I'm a big user of BookFunnel, look out for those next swaps. If you see a really weird pigeon romance coming out, I'm sorry.
I heard something about pigeons. How like we have this is a total tangent, but how like over a long period of time we trained them and we bred them to do certain jobs, and then we basically have abandoned them, and how they still live among us, and it's like this, they're like the pets that we abandoned. Anyway, I don't want to get too
Feels
too
like a new
out there.
recurring podcast situation. The pigeon update.
I might have to trim this.
Anyway, that's my tip. Clearly, I did not share this beforehand.
Right. Okay. I think this tees you up perfectly. What do you got for us?
Well, I had a different tip, but then Kelly gave hers, and I wanted to piggyback off of that because what she was saying I think is really important. I am high achiever and a spreadsheet girly, and that's a disastrous combination when it's not healthy. Working with Chris and Terry, Becca Symes' coach, I tore up my spreadsheets. And now what it is, because Achiever still needs a win, I just every day give myself a sticker. I'm not tracking any goddamn metrics. If I thought about the story, if I edited words, if I did new words, if I did rewrite words, if I blew on the manuscript, I give myself a sticker. And it has helped me let go. It's still enough data that my data wanting to track, am I doing work? It's still enough data, but it's just a sticker. It's just a hug. It's like, yes, you did work. You're okay. Go do something else now. It's been fabulous because my word count and my production has not slowed down at all. And I think there's a lesson there in trusting yourself. Like, trust your pace. Like, you're not lazy. If you think you are not.
Right. Because I think one of the problems when you set a very specific detailed goal for yourself, like I'm going to write this many words, and then you don't hit that goal, it has the opposite effect. It becomes demotivating or discouraging.
Deflating. Yeah.
Right? Really. And it works against you. And so, to simplify it to just, I worked on something writing related today. For some people, I could see that working really well. Absolutely.
And the inverse too, because going into strengths again, Achiever, what we do is if we have a really good day, like a 5,000 word day, we will then reset all of our internal goals. You have to do 5,000 every day. And then that drives us in this complete loop where we're insane every single day. Like, why didn't you do 5,000 today? And you did it yesterday. Yeah. That's not realistic. There are going to be 500 word days. There are going to be thinking days, and that's okay. You have to think before you can write. That's work too.
Well, I think that's a really good point too, is if you are, thinking about your story, you're writing. And I think it might be Becca Syme might have said this as well. That is work. That is part of the work of writing. And so even if you don't put a single word on the page today, but you were doing dishes and you were contemplating where your story's going, or you're, before you go to bed, you're processing your story. That's work. You are working on your story. That's the things that you need in order to be able to put the words on the page.
Yeah, there's kind of an
we
ethereal...
have to realize we're not factory workers. We are not factory workers, you all. You've got to get out of that mindset. It's the way we work as artists is going to be completely different than data entry or something else. If you're lying in bed and binging Netflix, that's work. It's legitimate because you need that.
Right.
So.
Yeah. There's kind of an ethereal nature to creative work. Yeah. Especially writing. Because in other art forms, produce something tangible more often. Writers do produce tangible things, like you produce books, like literal physical books. Sure, you can hold them. But an artist who's painting, the creative act itself creates something tangible and physical, and you can hold it and you can show it to somebody and see, look what I did. And when you're writing, you don't have the ability to really do that, especially in this day and age when it's all digital, unless you do it on a typewriter and you can say, here, look at the stack of pages I wrote today, right? it's not as tangible. And to piggyback on what you said, Emma, about how we're not factory workers, but one thing I have found, and this is a bonus tip, I suppose, every now and then doing some work that is completely different from your creative work, like Bekah mentioned, go get in your garden. Yeah. Go outside, do some manual labor, right? Yeah. Do something totally different. Do something with your hands, build something, break something, whatever it is. Kind of helps you get some of that pent up energy out.
And if you pay attention to your intuition will tell you when it's time to do that. Like every once in a while on a cycle, my intuition will be like, you're going to take 3 days and do a spring cleaning. And I'll be like, my brain needs time to step away, relax, reflect. And it's telling me, wench, get away from the computer. We need to process. Go do something else. Yeah, absolutely.
I want to try this. This is so fascinating to me because I'm also the high achiever. I write every day except for my birthday and my wedding anniversary. I have for years, and I have tracked my word count daily for the last 6 years. Like, that spreadsheet exists.
Wow.
I fully acknowledge that it is, in fact, not healthy.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those things that I'm like, this is bad for me, but I can't stop doing it. And as someone who writes a stupid amount of words every month, because I write quickly, it's constantly competing with myself. Like, can I do this more? Despite the fact that it is actually taking a strain on my mental health. And so that's interesting to think about. I don't know if I'm quite ready to go cold turkey and like get a sticker instead, because that actually, like, I don't know if you can see it. Like, I feel like I'm going to break out in hives at the idea of like giving up my spreadsheet right now.
Girl, I have the same feeling. Like, I have the same feeling.
I don't like it.
Don't delete the spreadsheet. I had the exact same feeling. Don't delete the spreadsheet. Just start a fresh one. So you still have in the back of your mind, it's okay. My baby is still there.
Okay.
And go in slowly, because the first couple of days was brutal.
Okay.
Brutal. I was like, no, I'm not tracking. You're like, yeah. Girl, I feel you.
I'm going to have to try it because one of the things about brainstorming hours, and I think that was really insightful, is that I bill brainstorming hours to my ghostwriting clients. If they just give me a list of tropes that are like, write me this book, they don't give me anything else to work on. I don't work for free. So how come we can't give ourselves as our own authors that time to acknowledge that time takes a lot of brain power to come up with the whole freaking book? Yeah. Sorry, I felt a little salty, but I mean, if I get
me too.
Like, just being it. But I built that into my contract. I have X number of hours that are for quote unquote story development and I don't ever tell them where that is. Sometimes story development is while I am loading the dishwasher, and I'm like, I wonder.
Right.
So it's interesting. I think we should be nicer to ourselves about that process.
Absolutely. That's a good one. It's a good mindset to have, I think. Absolutely. All right. So for mine, I guess it's my turn now here. So as you all know, I've been doing the dictation thing, and it's clicked for me. Yay! Everybody give Jack a high five. Okay, now that we've done that. All right, so I think it's my turn now here. As you guys know, I've been switching gears into dictation, and it's been going well for me. It's clicked. Yay. However, something that I have been incorporating into this is actually something I've done before, but with dictation, I feel like it pairs pretty well, is I'm using visualization aids when I'm writing. And so I call it a visualization aid because there's a number of ways that you could do this. I'm a bit of a visual learner myself, and it always works better for me to, especially when I'm like having to describe things, to be able to visually see it rather than, having it in my mind's eye, that sort of thing. And so I sometimes, like in the past, I made sketches of various like locations or objects or people or things. They are rudimentary and I'm not going to share them with anybody, but I can like look at that sketch in a little notebook while I'm dictating and describe it. Another thing that I played around with, and this is going to be controversial to some folks, is AI generated images. You're going to have different opinions on AI generated images, and that's fine. They are out there. They exist. Whatever your opinions are about them, I totally respect it. But every now and then I'm like, hey, I'm having trouble visualizing this. And so I'll generate an AI image, usually go through a few iterations and be like, okay, that's reasonably close to the thing that I'm wanting to visualize in this chapter, or the scene, or something that encapsulates the way it feels. And it doesn't even have to be an AI generated image. It could also be like, I know there are some authors, and I don't do this, but I know there are some authors who they will cast the characters in their books. as though they are real world actors. And so they have Liam Neeson as their, main character or something. And so they have a picture of Liam Neeson, and then they can refer back to that when they're describing him. But whatever it happens to be, whether it's a sketch or something from the real world or even an AI generated image, whatever it happens to be, using that. And while you're dictating too, because when you're typing, you're paying attention, you're looking at the words. When you're dictating, your eyes are free to do whatever it is you need to do and to look at that visual aid, if you will. So anyway, that's my tip.
That's a good one.
That's really cool.
I've actually used that. Yeah, when I was writing mine, I created an inn that my characters go to in Scotland. And this was before AI. And so I went onto Google Images and I went, biggest states in Scotland. And I sort of pulled together like 4 or 5 different images of what I liked. And that's where I visualized what I wanted to say. I could describe it a little bit better because my brain was like, it seems fuzzy. And then when I pull up a real image and say, oh, I love this. This is where I'm going with it.
Yeah.
And that sort of, helped to develop a totally fictitious place.
Right. To make a call back to some of the early episodes of the BookFunnel podcast, a couple authors that we had, Andrew Warren, I know, was one who was on the podcast, and one of his novels was set in an actual location that he went to. And it's kind of like, if you write books that happen here in the real world, you get to cheat. You could actually go there. You know what I mean? And you've been there before. And so why not, for those of us writing in a more fictional universe, or even if you have, like you said, a location you just haven't been to, using something to help you visualize that, and then your eye catches those details that you can then put into words and so forth. Yeah.
Interesting. I do that with
it helps
Pinterest.
in the setting.
I have vibes boards for each of my books, and I sometimes, if I'm feeling, sometimes I'll share them, sometimes I'll leave them private. Like, some of my readers really like to have, I do a surprising amount of engagement with my readers on Pinterest. But it is great because it's the one piece of social media where at least I'm not looking at Instagram right then, I'm not on TikTok, I'm on Pinterest with a purpose.
Yeah.
And that has been super helpful to find different things. I'm writing a series with cowboys right now, and there's a lot of cowboy content on Pinterest.
I'm not surprised.
I am an indoor person, so I don't, this has been fun. I've learned so much about barrel racing and all kinds of things. And I learned it from Pinterest in a way that didn't distract my entire process, which is what would happen if I searched that on TikTok. Then the next 3 hours of my life are gone. I have no control.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Exactly. No, that's a good idea too. There's lots of ways you can do it, I imagine. Yeah. All right. We are moving on to our main topic for today, Market Fuel.
Yay!
This is a new feature that you guys have developed at AutoCrit. And tell us a little bit about the purpose of this feature, what it's intended for, and then we can kind of get into the conversation of this idea of writing to market, finding your target audience, finding your readers, that sort of thing. But first, what is Market Fuel? Tell us all about it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. So Market Fuel is our newest feature here at AutoCrit, and it kind of came from, we got a lot of our comments from our users and just in the community that was essentially, writing a book is hard enough, but marketing feels impossible.
Yeah.
I know that is a relatable comment. And, we get a lot of comments of, how do I find readers? How do I write a blurb? What's the secret to Amazon rankings? How do I even do market research to find out if my book is in the market? What is the market? What about SEO keywords and categories? So there's a lot of, I guess you could say there's a lot of struggle, especially when it comes to being an indie author, because you have to wear all the hats. You have to wear your author hat, but then you also have to wear your business hat and your marketing hat. And that can, especially, at least in my experience, for creative folks, the creative writing hat is a lot easier to fit on your head sometimes than the marketing and business hat. I guess I'm just into hats today. And so this is a tool that just helps you figure that out. It helps you get those reader insights so that you have an idea of who you're targeting. It helps you figure out your book description. It helps you with your marketing copy. It helps you find your categories and subcategories for things like Amazon or BISAC categories. And it helps you with your keywords and what your series name could be and what your series title is and all of that good stuff. It gives you a market overview, your target audience, audience based on your work. So it's pulling this out of your own work inside of our platform. So it's pretty powerful. It's pretty cool. I am really excited about it, and we've had it out for a little less than a month now, and the reviews have been fantastic. So between that and our backwards blueprint, we are just really pleased to be able to have this feature for our authors. And then the cool thing, as always, with AutoCrit Pro, we don't do tokens or anything like that. You can run this on your entire backlist if you would like to. You just need to upload that, and you're able to do it. There's no limit.
Yeah. So I think you also mentioned something about doing this even before you go down the path of writing the book. Like, you've got an idea, and I could imagine that there'd be, for some people, some like analysis paralysis going on of like, okay, I have this idea and it sounds really good, but is there even a market for this? Is this even worth writing? Right? Should I even go down that path?
Yes.
Right? Is that something that you can use this tool for as well?
Absolutely. So one of the things that we have at AutoCrit is called our story builder, and I finally refer to it as the corral in which my plot bunnies live. So it is where you can put in just a little bit of information about this idea that you have for a story, and then you can run an analysis on it. So you can analyze, say you have a premise, and let me pull up my story builder right now. So if you have a premise for, I don't know, the last, this magical teacup or something that's in a cozy mystery, you know that it's going to be paranormal, but you don't know anything else. You put all of that information in. You can put in anything you know about the characters or the world or not, and you can run that analysis, and it's going to tell you if it meets the promise of the premise, if it's going to tell you if it meets the world building expectations. It's going to pull what genre and what themes it thinks are coming from this idea, and then you can run market fuel on it. And that's the cool part about market fuel, is it's going to give you that competitive landscape. So if you are writing a cozy mystery with a haunted teacup in Granny Annie's bakery and there's a paranormal component, it's going to say, how does this paranormal fit into the cozy market? What themes do you think are present with similar books? And then when it pulls the similar titles, it's going to pull titles that have those themes, and then it's going to tell you why. And I think that why factor is super important, because I could say I'm writing a romantasy and someone's like, oh, like ACOTAR, and if they don't tell me why, be like, why is it like ACOTAR? I mean, no hate on ACOTAR. It's obviously at this point like a cultural icon in the book community, but is it because there's the Fae? Is it because of the Bat Boys? Is it because of wings? Like, what is it? And so it does pull out those similarities, and that's a great pre-validation of your idea.
Yeah.
Of, is there a spot for this? And I do believe, I want to put this out there, I believe there's a spot for pretty much every book out there, just because it really depends on your goals. I have folks that work with us that are not writing for a side hustle income or for commercial gain. They're writing because they love their story and they just want to write it, and they don't care if it sells or not. They just want to see it on their shelf. This might be useful insight for you, but this is really geared towards people that are trying to sell their book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I imagine for certain books, because I remember my first book, and it's an amalgam of a bunch of random things I was into when I was a teenager, right? That maybe didn't belong together, right? It's not a perfect fit for, any genre, but having a tool, because I think it can be really hard to see the forest through the trees when you wrote the book yourself and you're like, well, it's about like these aliens and there's humans too, but they're on a planet. And it's kind of like it's a fantasy. It's like written that way, but it's actually like science fiction. Like there's spaceships and stuff, but that's like in the background and you don't see it. And like you could get like totally, you get enmeshed in all those details and you can't see like, who should I market this to? Like, who would read this book, right? You know what I mean? So I think having a tool that you can, that might almost give you some confidence to write the crazy book, right? And just be like, okay, I'm just going to do this and see like, okay, after the fact, I know there's going to be some things, because nothing is truly 100% original, right? So there's always going to be something you can compare and connect it to. And that's, I imagine, some of the work that's happening behind the scenes that AutoCrit is doing, or the Market Fuel feature is doing, is kind of finding those connections to other things. And, oh, well, it's like this, and that might be your nearest proximal audience. Am I right?
Yeah,
in
I
that?
mean, it's going to give you those the similarity for other books. It might give you what the competitive landscape for that is. Like if I'm writing a fantasy, then there are a lot of fantasies in there. You need to go niche. You need to dig deeper to find out what it is about your book. Like, is it an epic? Is it dark?
Sure.
Is it romantasy? Is it a portal situation? Like we don't know. So it's going to give you those market trends. It will give you some strategic recommendations. So for example, our demo file is The Wizard of Oz, and so it's one of the strategic recommendations is to target children's book librarians, to target school librarians and things like that, because this is in fact, it is classic literature, but it is geared towards kids. Now, when I put my paranormal, why choose spicy, weird romance through it, it was like, okay, so we have a little bit, we have contemporary, or no, we have paranormal romance, but they also said paranormal women's fiction. And I dug deeper into that. And when I pulled the comps, I was like, oh, you know what? I actually do see those similarities. So I was able to tweak a little bit of my categories because of that. I was like, I don't know about this, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to try it. And I did see an uptick of sales because it is a category issue, right? Like, because I know so many people that are like, Amazon will just automatically put my book in the right category. No, it will not. Not always. Sometimes you get lucky, but you should at least check that.
Right.
Because I've seen some stuff in the wrong category lately, and I was like, don't know that dark cartel romance is clean and wholesome unless this is going in a different way.
Right. I thought you were going to say it still told you to target the librarians, but just because they would be the ones reading it. They
should. Yeah. I do have a lot of librarians in my readership. So yeah, it gives you that. We don't do anything with like image generation or anything like that here at AutoCrit. So we still have, but it will give you things like titles. It will give you some ideas for your cover. So it'll give you a written description of what the theme of this cover could be and some ideas that you could then think about, take to your artist or however you create your covers. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's cool.
So it can actually give you tips on cover creation and like what you could like send over to your cover designer just based off of the contemporary or the comps that it pulls.
So it's actually based off of your work as a whole. So it's going to say like, this is an idea. If you wanted a like whimsical cover for this, you could, for like The Wizard of Oz, if your target style is whimsical fantasy adventure and your target audience are fans of classic fantasy and coming of age, then a suggested cover image could be like a vibrant road leading to a glowing emerald city under a dramatic stormy sky. And that would be what it would give you. And then you could play with that and figure out if that works for you. And it gives you around 10 different options, so you could go with a different theme if you wanted one. And then when it does the book description, it gives you a condensed version for sales copy. Like if you're going to go put your book out on a group promo and we don't want the whole blurb, we just want a couple sentences. Yes. I know you guys know this pain. Do not give me 750 words, and also that is too long for a blurb. But give me 3 sentences that sell your book, and it's going to give you some options that could fit into that so that you can take that, play with it, and make it your own. And it tells you what themes are going along with that. For The Wizard of Oz, if you're looking at third person, warm and inviting, and that's the vibe you're going for, it might say, when a Kansas cyclone whisks Dorothy into a land of magic, she must journey along a yellow brick road with a quirky band of companions in search of the elusive Great Oz, a quest where hope and danger intertwine at every turn. I mean, that is The Wizard of Oz. So, having that as a starting point, because I think a lot of people struggle with how do I condense my blurb, because I just, I don't know, when I got started, it was like, get a bottle of wine, get the wheel of brie, and prepare to write the blurb. At the end, I don't know what's going to happen, but I hate it. So, yeah.
For our webinar on writing better blurbs, where we do talk about some of this, but this is actually, if I had known about this tool, I probably would have mentioned it in that webinar actually, because some people were also asking like, oh, do you like run your book through AI and ask it to write the blurb for you? And I know some people are like really uncomfortable, like just like uploading their manuscript to ChatGPT. So maybe tell us a little bit about that piece of it for those who might be concerned. With AutoCrit, I upload my manuscript to you, you take it, and then you use that to train your own AI.
No.
right? Don't you?
No, we
Okay,
do
I
not.
know.
So we
I
don't, yeah,
set you
we do
up.
not.
I said,
I know. I was like, no, don't say that.
I know. I'm joking. I know that they didn't. I was
Yeah.
just, yes.
So we are a closed system and we do not
Right.
train. We
Exactly.
have we just like our line editing reports will not make those changes for you. It's going to highlight it, it's going to tell you what it suggests, but it's up to you to decide to make those changes in your own work. We do not write your anything in your work for you.
Uh-huh.
But we are a secure system. We are a closed system. We never ever train, and we cannot access any of your work without your express consent, and only then for a support related reason.
Right,
We
right.
never ever use our users' work to compare to other users' work. That is a question that we've had. That is not
Yeah.
something we do at all. And
Right.
you can always look at our FAQs on our website to get more information about how we approach AI.
Right.
But
Right.
yes, we are an
Right.
AI assist technology.
Exactly. Which is still powerful. So you still get the, I guess you would say, kind of the convenience aspect of AI and the fact that it's able to kind of generate some of those ideas for you, but you don't have to worry about, your intellectual property then like belonging to, the internet for all of eternity.
No, no. And we've had some people, we have users that get trad book deals that use our platform. We've had people, actually, we had a great message that came in last fall that someone said, their book is being published by a trad publisher. We're very excited for them. And that
Nice.
their agent and their editor said that this was one of the cleanest copies that they had received over the last 15 years. And that was just incredible feedback because our user used AutoCrit for that process. So, we have some folks that are like, I can't use it because I want to go trad. You absolutely can. We are safely within the AI assist category, and so we are not generative. So, yeah.
Right. No, that's good to know for some folks who are concerned about that. I know there's some folks that don't care and they don't mind and whatever,
Oh,
but
for
I
sure.
know for the folks who do, that's good to know. So on this topic, because the reason why this matters, I think, is also something that we should get to here. And we've talked about the topic of just in general writing to market.
Yeah.
But it can make or break your book's performance or the performance of your series. Like you said, you ran your own book through it, made some adjustments, and you saw some change in sales. So what do you I know you guys have only had this feature out for a little bit, but what feedback have you been getting from authors about how it's helping them find their target audience? They've already written the book. So maybe the book was or was not written to market, but how has it helped them fine tune that targeting?
Well, I mean, isn't that the funny? I actually did a webinar earlier this year about writing to market here at AutoCrit, and isn't that the funniest term right there? Writing to market, because everyone has a market. It's which one are we targeting, and figuring out who your ideal reader is your market. So when I have folks that are like, well, my book is for everyone. I'm like, no, everyone might have access to read it, but your book is actually for a very specific group of people.
Yes.
And you want to find those people because those are the ones that are going to be excited about your book. They're going to share your book. They're going to buy your book. They're going to be a little bit feral about your book. And that's what we're looking for. So what I see this tool using for some of our users, especially if it's your first book, right? You're like, I don't know. I just wrote the thing. I don't know what to do with it now, which I can tell you for my first book, I was definitely in that category. My first book was not great. It did go out into the world. It is no longer in the world. It has been removed, but it was not. When I look at that, 15 years later, I've learned some things. It gives you some ideas. So when you run the backwards blueprint, you're going to get the tropes and the themes that are most present in your book, and it's going to give you some genre information. That's great, especially if you were actively targeting that genre. If not, it's going to tell you, okay, maybe these elements are the reason why my book actually fits in this other genre instead. We had someone write they thought it was going to be romantic suspense, but the romance was not the primary part of the book. It was a psychological thriller that happened to have romance through it.
Right.
And by changing that category off of romantic suspense, because romantic suspense readers want the romance, they want that love story, and changing it over to psychological thriller, who don't mind that there's a romance theme, but they're in it for the thrills, right? They're in it for the scary stalker who's going around everywhere. That having that change and having someone be like, actually, you were almost there. Let's move it a little bit here, and this is why, is hugely valuable information, because yes, you could do this on your own, and Lord knows we've done it on our own for years of doing that market research, searching for comps, but it's that idea that you don't know where to start, and I think that this gives you a healthy starting place based on what you've already written. So I think that is one of the more powerful tools. And then if you're already an established author, it gives you validation that you are in the right categories. That's what I use it for. It gives you, I was like, oh Lord, what did I do? What category did I put this thing in? And it gives you some ideas. Like in the promo section, I'm a huge fan. I've talked about this here on your pod. I've talked about it in my marketing thing. I'm a lead magnet girly. I have a lead magnet and an exit magnet for every single freaking book. I will capture your email address one way or another. And this gives you lead magnet ideas based on your work. So for this one, it suggests a short story, perhaps a interactive quiz about which character you are and things like that, so that you can figure out where to put that. And I think having a starting place and a list of suggestions allows you to react. It allows you to think. It kind of triggers the oh, maybe I could do this side of your brain, and it just does it all in a nicely formatted section so that you can save so much time.
Exactly.
So it actually will give possible reader magnet ideas that you could pull based off of what you've actually already written. So if you have your book already completed, you put it in there, and then it will say, oh, you could do these. And it's not just write a bonus epilogue, right? Like it's actually giving you other types of ideas.
Yeah, I'm still looking at Wizard of Oz, but it says one of them is an interactive map of the land of Oz, make it engaging, downloadable, highlight key locations, include fun facts and additional lore about each setting, could be useful on your website as a freebie, have a pop-up, put your email in, get the downloadable map. And I think that those are the kinds of ideas that some of us, especially in romance, that's my primary genre anyway, it's all about the extended epilogue and the short story to enter the world, and that's pretty much 90% of my lead magnets and exit magnets. So having something cool, download the town map and see all of these places, or maybe have custom art. That was another suggestion. Those are ideas that I know about, but I wouldn't have necessarily thought about for my book, and it does help you figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah. And they work, by the way, those lead magnets. We see it because BookFunnel delivers them, so we can tell you. They do work. The readers want them, but it's not always easy for you to see as the author, okay, what exactly do they want? Or what kind of content, bonus content, would they be willing to click on and give you their email for? So obviously, I do think the strategy of a short story leading in and then an exit magnet or a bonus epilogue, whatever you want to call it, I think those are great. But yeah, those other creative ones. We had was it Patsy Collins on the podcast way back when, an author writing cozy mystery, I believe. And one of her reader magnets was and Kelly and Emma, remind me in case
It was a magazine, I think.
Yes, it was
town
the newspaper, the town newspaper.
Right. And it had all the hijinks of all the side characters.
Right.
That's so fun.
And there was a recipe contest or something, some aspect of it.
Yeah,
it's
bakery,
been a while
I
since
think.
Right,
I'd have to go
that's
back. I
right.
really loved it, though. I was like, oh my gosh, I would love to do something like that. It was very creative because, it's usually bonus epilogues, and that's okay. That's actually really great because people are like, I want to see what happens to get their happy ever after, especially in romance. That's the happy ever after, right? And you get to see their life living that part of that promise of the premise, right? You promise them they're going to be happy together forever. Here it is, always a winner. But having something like, a bakery contest in a fake newspaper is so cute, and it's so on target with that audience. It's really nice to be able to put your book into something like AutoCrit and be like, give me some ideas that are outside of the box a little bit.
I like that.
I write romantic suspense, and one of the things that people have said that they do in romantic suspense is to write a dossier.
Yeah, case
for
files.
your case file for your main character. Like if he's a spy or something like that, then what does his dossier look like? When was he born? Like all of those things are put in there, so you actually have a little fun thing to share. And they actually have, on Canva, you can just create it as an image that looks like a file. And it's outside of that box. I have not done that, but I love those ideas.
Yeah.
Ask Kelly how great she is at reader magnets.
So I mean,
we'll get there.
It's just, yeah, it's giving us opportunities. It's giving us, and that's why we called it a market fuel, right? It fuels the ability to market your book, and your different strategies might work for different books. In romance, I absolutely recommend, you're leaving, in my opinion, money on the table if you don't do an extended epilogue or some way to capture your readers, because you want to keep that. I mean, I have some of my lists that are 100% organic because I don't participate in any promos. They are purely driven by either the lead or the exit magnet. Thank you, BookFunnel. And I have some that are like, I would like a more general, I want to throw that net out wider. So I'm going to bring people in that way. And that's where those short stories, those world snippets, or when the side character who doesn't quite have enough for a full length book might get a novella that's a bonus material, situation. And I'll use that as a magnet as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Now, Emma, I know recently mentioned something. I can't remember if it was on the podcast or it was just randomly like in a meeting that we had or something like that, about kind of reassessing your own writing and what genre you were actually writing. And I know you write in several genres, so I don't want to like speak for you, but this conversation has reminded me of that. Because you said, I don't want to quote you verbatim, but like you thought you were writing fantasy romance or romantasy or whatever you all call it. But you were writing, it was something different than that, is you kind of had an aha moment.
Ironically enough, I'm running that book through AutoCrit now, and it is telling me what my other author friends and through discussion, but basically I am a women's fiction, morally gray, epic fantasy with a romantic subplot author. I write for heroines who are over 35, mostly people of color, large LGBTQ cast, and that's a niche. It's not the ACOTAR niche, and it's not the Fourth Wing niche, and AutoCrit right now, I'm doing the chapters, is telling me that this story is dark fantasy. It has not mentioned the word romance. And I'm like, damn it! I haven't gotten to market fuel yet. It's still analyzing the chapters, but I'm at the part where it's like, what genre is this? And I'm like, damn it, Bekah.
but I mean, I want to read it. I'm like, oh, this is my
Yeah.
niche. Like, I want to see it. Yeah, it can give you a lot. And that's the thing about the story analyzer, is it's so freaking powerful. You can go chapter by chapter. You can go through your whole book as a whole. You can add in the reverse outlining, which is backwards blueprint, and then run market fuel on top of that. And if you like data, we will give you analysis data. If that intimidates you, then I suggest going chapter by chapter. It's less scary
Sure.
that way.
How does it work for things like nonfiction?
Yeah. It
Yeah.
does. We have the nonfiction market fuel as well, so it's going to give you a little bit of a different kind of market overview, but you can definitely still run market fuel on nonfiction. We do have the nonfiction story builder as well as the nonfiction analyzer available for your nonfiction needs as well. Write a lot of nonfiction unless I pick up a different kind of ghostwriting contract, but we have several communities of nonfiction writers here at AutoCrit, and we've had a lot of positive,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to positioning. So let's say you wrote a wellness book about, I don't know, eating more green things to make your life better, which is what my doctor would really love it if I did. I'm looking at my like giant thing of licorice and my Skittles and my sweet tarts, and I'm like, but there's green ones. And you did a wellness book. It's going to tell you a little bit about how do you position that, because your categories for that wellness book are going to be really important as well, and your keywords for that, and the same things like we have social media copy that can be examples of social media copy with like hashtags and things like that. So depending on how you are marketing this, maybe instead of on TikTok, you're marketing this on LinkedIn, or you are putting this on, maybe you're a coach and you do most of your lead generation through Instagram. It's going to give you some options for that caption. It's going to give you some options that you could have different hooks. And I know that creating ad copy is not my favorite activity at all. So I have actually used some of the ad copy that we had for Market Fuel for one of my leads. And that lead has a low-cost Facebook constant ad on it. And I have seen it converting. I did change the copy. It was scary to change it because it was one of my long-standing ones where I'm like, don't touch it.
Right.
But so far, it's been doing well. So I will say that from anecdotal evidence, it is working. And
yeah. And that's another plug for one of our webinars on your first Facebook ad. If you're wanting to dive into that and you haven't yet, because we talk about like it's a very basic webinar, and not even trying to get you to the point where like your Facebook ads are profitable, but just to do your very first one. But then having a tool like that where it can like give you some ideas for your ad copy.
Oh, kitty.
You know, yes. There we have a cat spotting here. Introduce us. Who are we meeting?
This is Percy. He's a big boy. He sleeps over here, and he has awoken and is now hungry. So he's going to walk back and forth in front of me.
It's that time.
Until I feed him. So I'm going to go let him out of my office. I'll be right
No,
back.
you're good. You're good. Absolutely. I had one of those cats as well. The overweight one that hides, 20 hours of the day and is awake when it's time to feed. Anyway.
I have an orange one like that. Yeah, he's downstairs watching the toddler nap. He just perches on the edge of the couch and just stares at him like, you loud freaking thing. Are you awake again? What's going to happen?
Our orange cat is the typical crazy orange cat and he's all over the place. And then his brother is the brown cat that hides under the bed 90% of the time. Aww. We recently did some dog sitting, and the dog that came over spooked that cat. His name is Otto, by the way. And so Otto got spooked. This is the fat cat. And he didn't want to go upstairs because he would have to go by the dog. And so he hid under the couch for a week.
Oh my gosh.
And he came out skinny. It was like he's not even cat anymore. And I was like, oh
baby.
My goodness. Well, I mean, he
had a choice.
I don't know. It was kind of like he just hunkered down, and that's why he had all that extra body fat, I suppose. Anyway.
Survival situation. Gosh, yeah, ours is almost 17 years old. He doesn't move quickly. He stretches too hard, falls off the cat tree, and I was like,
right.
Oh gosh.
Right. But to tie this back to the topic that we're talking about, cats.
Obviously.
On BookFunnel, we see some interesting group promos. Okay.
Yes, you do.
Because authors are organizers, and they're awesome, and they're creative people, and so they come up with these really creative and interesting ideas for promos.
Yep.
But sometimes, just like any idea, sometimes it's a hit, sometimes it's a miss. And I know I have seen in the cozy mystery genre in particular, like, this is a promo for books with cats. Like, there's a cat on your cover, but in cozy mystery, cats are very common. Right? Yeah. It's just a common thing.
You gotta have an animal.
Exactly. But I've also seen some where it's like we're getting too niche. And when we're talking about BookFunnel group promos, you're trying to find other authors writing in your same niche. And sometimes that's how I actually could see this being useful even for that.
Yeah.
Where you can run it through AutoCrit and be like, wait, my book actually needs to go in these promos on BookFunnel. Or that's the promo I should be hosting on BookFunnel. And then let me tell people, hey, if your book is like this, it's actually this. And you need to be in this promo. And here's why. Because I think for some of those niche promos, again, it's kind of forest through the trees sort of thing where, you're like, oh, well, my book has a cat in it. So if your book has a cat in it, you should be in my promo. But then you have random stuff that doesn't even fit. And that's not even the best example. Like, I didn't think about this.
My dark romance, technically she has a cat. So
yeah, well, there you go.
That's going to be a little bit jarring for the people that are like, I want the bakery kitty. And I was like, there's a cat featured in this, but it also is featuring murder. It's a murder cat. Sorry.
There you go. Maybe not. Yeah, exactly. But maybe not the same cat that people are thinking of. And then to that point,
exactly.
Right? When you're doing any promotional activity, I think it matters, but I think it could be helpful for BookFunnel promos as well to see like how do I, what niche is my niche? Because people talk about that all the time. You need to, I think there's kind of two ways that people take you need to write to market discussion. Some people take that advice and think, okay, my book has to have broad appeal then. Because, fantasy is where it's at. Has to be this. I have to write fantasy. Right. When really right to market, the advice is usually going like a few layers deeper than that, which is number one, like what's trending right now is kind of some of the more maybe cynical advice on the right to market end of the spectrum. Just write whatever's popular right now and don't worry about it. Some people want to do that.
Advice.
No, I don't either. But then there's kind of the happy medium, I think, is more like, well, write what you love. but here's that niche that's like the closest to it. Here's the readers that are the closest to that, and maybe try to steer just a little bit closer to them, because maybe you're out here on kind of an island and you're really close to this, and you could, if you just nudged yourself over this way, you'd find readers that would eat it up. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, one of the things I like to say about writing to market is that it's not necessarily about chasing trends. If you write quickly and you're able to do that, then fantastic. I'm not going to tell you not to. So I know some people have almost a visceral reaction to the term write to market.
Right.
It's for some people, it legitimately feels like selling out. It's exchanging your creativity for profit, chasing these trends and things like that. I view writing to market as considering your audience before you write. It's not something like where you have to create these formulaic, unoriginal stories. It's not just following trends. It's not even sacrificing your artistic vision or forever sticking to a tiny niche. Is having a plan or a strategy in place to consider who your target audience is, or who you want your target audience to be, and what is it that they're looking for? What is it that they want? And it does require you to monitor things. Like, if you want to write to market, you need to know what's currently selling. You need to look at patterns. You need to look at the data and things like that. So having the ability to see where your book fits into that, if you've already done that research, that saves it just saves a ton of time, but it doesn't take away from the fact that you do need to understand your genre still. You do need to focus on the reader. Like, this gives you genre convention type things. It's going to tell you what genre you're in and why. And that can be helpful if you're not used to thinking like that. Yeah.
Right.
So that's my little spiel on write to market.
Right. No, it's interesting. My wife was watching a show recently, this series of like cozy anime on Netflix. These cozy, like almost lit RPG style sort of. It's a bizarre mixture of things, but it's got like the whole low stakes aspect of it and that sort of thing. And I'm just sitting there watching her watch this stuff. I'm like, what? Like, where's the big conflict? Like, where's the, you know what I mean? But then I started to realize, like, okay, you're not watching it for that. This is what you're expecting. And it was like a good kind of exercise in like, I'm consuming some content that maybe I'm not like the target audience for, but it even got me thinking of like, okay, I write sci-fi, and I've dabbled with the idea of, primarily military sci-fi, but I like the idea of writing different things in that universe. And sometimes even like, maybe I could write something that's sci-fi, but, sci-fi horror in my universe. And so I was watching this. I'm like, you know what? I've heard of this cozy sci-fi stuff. It's out there, apparently. I don't know that it's huge, but just as a thought experiment, I'm like, hey, what would that look like? If I were, not that I'm even known to, not that I've even written anything like that before, but I imagine with a tool like this, I could sit down. I did come up with an idea, actually, that fits the whole premise. Like, somehow I carved out this little aspect of my universe where like a cozy sci-fi story could take place, even though there's like literal aliens, causing the end of the world and the extinction of humanity, right? Like, in the midst of that, I could carve out this little spot.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so to know that I could, like, I'm actually excited to take that idea and plug it in there and see, like, even for a niche like that.
So I think putting that kind of short story idea within your own world, I would put that into the builder, the story builder first. Yeah. And I would build that out. You can copy, if you have world building details that you want to copy from a previous story, you can always copy those from your notes. So you can save it from your original story, run the backwards blueprint, save it to notes, copy it from the note and put it into the world. So the world building stays consistent, since these are two separate files. And sure. I would do that. And then I would go ahead and just, I would run Market Fuel to be able to tell me where is this fitting in? What kind of, I would pay attention to things like the promo material that it would come up with, and how it is positioning this within the world that it has been created, without even addressing the fact that, the other book exists. This is that separate thing. So that's what, exactly. That's what I would do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it takes, you could do all of that in under half an hour, which is how many hours do you spend doing market research? Right.
Well, and that's the thing. Yeah. Because I think the truth is, for most authors, it's probably not much. Yeah, because it would be so time consuming, you just don't wind up doing it. And then you run ads and you put your book out there, and then you wonder why things aren't going well, because that market research would be very time consuming, to be quite honest with you.
Right? Send It and Pray is is an indie publishing strategy for
It
sure.
is.
And I'm certainly guilty of that. There's been days where it's like my ADHD will kick in and it's like, absolutely not. We will not be doing market research today. Our readers, we're just gonna manifest it, and their readers are going to find me.
Right.
I can tell you that's not the best method that I've ever used, but they do find you eventually. I think especially when I look at the economy and unless you have a lot of disposable income to just throw at ads and hope and pray. I like to have a strategy behind my ads. I like to make sure that I'm not just setting fire to money. And in doing that, that comes back to that. You need to know who you're targeting. I had someone tell me that they were like, is it okay that I have a $2,000 a month ad budget, but I have it set to United States 18 plus? I was like, you must be in a different tax bracket than I am, because that is not your audience, and your money is going poof.
Yeah. That's a very
Please don't do
broad
that.
audience for those
That
who
is a
don't
broad
don't know.
audience.
If you haven't done Facebook ads before, that's
That's everyone
those
in
are
the
the
United
only
States over 18.
exactly. That's
Book readers, non-book readers.
That's the kind of budget, that's the kind of targeting that like Coca-Cola would do. Like everybody needs to know about Coca-Cola because
Right.
their marketing strategy is just, hey, we just want the name recognition. We're going to make the money eventually because we're going to, psychically, it's like the whole frogs thing from Futurama, right? It's pretty much what it is, right? We just want you to know the brand and remember it. So then when you see the option to pick Coca-Cola, you do. As an author, especially an indie author, you do not want to do that.
No.
At all. Not even close.
Well, and I mean, this was like it was kind of like a creative nonfiction type story, like a family history. It was very niche. And so she's like, oh, but anyone could learn from the lessons in this book. I'm like,
yes.
Okay, again, yes, they could. And I just
but who's going to buy the book? But who's going to buy the book is the question.
The strategy it's very expensive. And and I felt really bad because they'd already gone through 2 months of that, and they had gotten this advice from website. And it was like, you have to target. I've watched people go into debt doing self-publishing. I always say, only do what you can afford. Do not spend like you are. Don't manifest your future through spending on your credit card.
Yeah, no, do not do that. Do not put your ads on a credit card.
No.
At all.
And don't set it to auto renew. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I've done that. It was not a good day. It was a very bad day.
One of the things I had always been told is to picture your target reader as an actual person. Like, give them a name. Do they have kids? Do they not have kids? Do they ride the train to work and have time to read? And that's their only time to read. And so do they want to escape into a romance? Do they want, like, what is it? How old are they? Like, exactly the person. And then target your audience to that individual person.
Yep.
That one person. Right. And then that gives you so much more of a target to be like, yeah, I want my person to be 35 to 40 years old. And then that way, I honestly, when I do my age demographic, I always just say over 25. Yep. And I choose women because I write romance, and it doesn't mean that men don't read it and wouldn't like it. I actually have had men read my book and like it, but that's not my person who rides the train.
Exactly. So. And for those wanting maybe a little bit more of a conversation about ad targeting, we had Mallory Cooper on the podcast a while back.
Amazing.
This is like the third shout out I've done so far this episode, but that tells you this is a really good conversation because we're connecting a lot of these dots. So yeah, I would go watch that episode on targeting because there's a lot of what we talked about was actually like, okay, you wrote this sort of thing. You're going to go to Facebook and be like, okay, well, I wrote a romance. Romance might exist as a category, a broad category for Facebook ads. It might not. But if it doesn't, then you need to find something in media that is as closely related to the book you wrote as possible. So in my case, what I wrote is inspired by Battlestar Galactica. So I usually use Battlestar Galactica in my Facebook ads for people who are like fans of it. And it works well because I know it's directly inspired from that. But it would also be helpful if I could run my book through a tool that would tell me, oh yeah, you're squarely in the military sci-fi genre, like exactly, and that sort of thing. So,
And knowing your themes is how you can help. Knowing
Yeah.
what themes are in your book is going to help you with your targeting later, because you're able to then kind of parse out what it is that you're looking for
Right.
in that target reader. I have a worksheet somewhere that I gave to I taught Book Marketing 101 at AutoCrit earlier this year, and we did a worksheet about how do you build out, exactly like you said, Kelly, how do you build out this person that is your target reader, and what do you know about them? And it was a really eye-opening exercise for a lot of people, because you just don't think about it that way.
Yeah.
Until you're used to that. And then also, honestly, I ask my beta readers for so much stuff, but I also ask my beta readers for target validation, essentially, because as I said previously, I have a long form that they fill out, because I do use paid beta readers, and that is one of the targeting things is, demographic do you think this belongs in? And I use that as valuable information. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's not, but it's information that I can use to make decisions.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Now, Emma, you've been quiet for a little bit here, and you just sent me a message. So I think you had something you wanted to share.
Okay, so I have 2 all-time favorite authors in the world. I know their series back and forth. I know them better than their editors know them. One is Anne Bishop. And then there's another author I used to binge when I was a teenager. I don't anymore, but Tad Williams, The Dragonbone Chair. Anne Bishop, The Black Jewels trilogy. Your market fuel just gave me those 2 authors. And I'm like, man, I'm validation, Bekah. Thank you.
I'm here for you. And so is Market Fuel.
So interesting that is. Were you actually inspired by those writers when you were like creating the book, or did it just come out that way?
Anne Bishop and Michelle Segara. I've spent 20 years rereading them every year, so I'm sure they influence the voice and the themes and stuff, because you know how it is.
Yeah. But
And
you
then
wouldn't
Tad
intentionally
No,
I want to
not
create
intentionally,
a
no.
world that feels this way.
No.
So
Yeah, it's
cool.
you go for the feels. You go for the feels. And then I'm sure at a line edit level, once you start, 20 years of reading the same thing, I'm sure at a line edit level, you absorb some things.
Yeah.
There are master classes on copy Edgar Allan Poe to learn how to write. So, come on. But
Right.
no, I thought it was interesting because it has romantic fantasy as the very last genre, but it's giving me epic, dark, and military fantasy. Like,
Nice.
yeah, I'm not marketing to the right people.
No, but I watched, because you've been uploading stuff to YouTube, and I watched one of your videos where I think you were doing some revisions.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not mistaken, you were reading aloud some of the stuff that you had written and you were revising it. And I'm like, oh yeah, there's a heavy military element to this. Like I really got this. So I'm not surprised. And yeah, everybody go check out Emma's YouTube channel and subscribe if you're interested. But that's an aside. But yeah, that's nice that it caught that. That's good validation, I bet.
It is, especially if you're really trying to figure out what type of, because a lot of times we're told be one type of writer or you are one type of writer, and that's really not who you are. And it's hard to get to the core of, the writer you are.
It's the ugly duckling.
Yeah.
Right, you spend a certain amount of time with everybody telling you you're just a really ugly duck. I don't know why you think you're a duck.
My ugly duckling would be Bear Strichter romance.
Well, but let me clarify what I mean, which is to relate it to this, which is that you think you're this type of author, or you think that this is your target audience, or these are your target readers, and so you're pitching your book to them, and you're getting back the like my books. Some of the early BookFunnel promos I did accidentally made it into some promos. I don't know how, because I didn't add. I added them there to those promos. I probably missed some of the other books that were in there, or what was going on. I think there were some authors that were sci-fi romance in there, potentially. Things that I now know to be much more vigilant of after doing it for years. And so I got some negative reviews, and they were typically from, well, number one, they were typically from women. And they were typically because there are themes in my book that are like the antithesis of romance. And so they were maybe expecting something very different. And they're like, I really hate the main character. He's not a good person. And I'm like, that's kind of the point, actually.
Is this the one who cheats on his wife?
Yeah, well, yes. And
romance.
A romance.
No, it's not.
Not romance.
Well, and the title of the book is supposed to be a dead giveaway that he's you're not, yeah, he has some, like, he has his own redemption arc and everything and all that stuff that happens, but you're not going to sit through that if you were expecting something totally different. You know what I mean? So yeah, good to know that. And so to relate this back to promos again, yeah, if you're going to join a promo, again, run your, like, this is some advice we could give people, I suppose. It's run your book through AutoCrit, find out what it is, and then stick to those genres, because it matters on that level too. Because if you're going to be building a mailing list from these promos, you want to make sure that you're building it with a list of readers who are your target audience. And I see organizers in my own genre who are like, sci-fi romance, whatever, I don't care. Like, throw them all in there. And I personally stay away from those promos, because no disrespect to those sci-fi romance authors out there, but we probably don't have the exact same audience. And so if I throw my book in there with yours, I'm going to inevitably get some readers from your list, and they're not going to be into what I'm pitching them, right? Yeah. Most likely. It's possible that they will. It's possible that there's a few who, they like to dabble here and there, but it's going to be really difficult to sort them out and figure that out at that stage.
You might actually get some negative reviews too if it's like first in series.
Actually.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
you're setting yourself up for, like,
yeah.
I wouldn't pick up a book that, I mean, I only read romance, so mostly, I mean, I've read other things, but if I were to come across a book and the main character's cheating on his wife and there's no romance in it, I'd be like, the hell is this?
Yeah.
2-star.
Exactly. Well, 1-star, Kelly. Actually, I thought about this as a marketing tactic to intentionally give your book to ARC readers who are the exact opposite genre, so that they leave you a whole bunch of 1-star reviews that you can use for marketing purposes. I thought about it for about 5 minutes, and then I was like, I'm not going to be the one who takes that. It could work out. I've seen people use negative reviews in marketing, and it works really, really well, even in Facebook ads. But you're kind of taking a gamble there. I don't know, maybe who knows?
Wasn't it Bekah who was saying a while ago, all a 1-star review is an indication your marketing is off. You're attracting the wrong reader. So if you have a thick skin, read those, because it'll tell you what they were looking for.
Yeah.
So I'm not serving that. I need to adjust my message.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. All right. Now, this is typically the time or the spot during the podcast where we go into the story behind the story. However, we have heard Bekah's story. She's our first recurring guest here on the podcast. So we got something else to talk, or Bekah has something else to talk to us about. This, you told us this right before the podcast started. Novel 90.
Yes. So excited.
Yes, give us because this is kind of intended. Well, I don't know. I'll let you say it.
Okay, so if you haven't heard the news, spoiler alert, NaNoWriMo is no longer. I don't know about you, but I definitely participated in NaNoWriMo for many years. It's how I got a lot of writing done over the years, and there is a loss of that community. There's kind of a hole in our kind of creative calendar, if you will. And we at AutoCrit last year, we started a challenge called Novel 90, and we had thousands of writers participate. It was absolutely insane in all of the best ways. And our goal was finish your novel in 90 days. We, instead of having just one 30-day writing sprint, we actually spread it out over 90 days. So you could plan, write, and edit your book in 90 days. We are a little bit more structured, and we have some more community there. So we have 3 best-selling author coaches that you get to pick a team. So you could pick Team Planner, Team Plantser, or Team Pantser, depending on your writing style. You're not like stuck in that team. If you're a little bit of everything, you can go to everyone else's events. I am captain of Team Plantser. And what we do is we do live events. We do YouTube. We do daily motivational emails. You can text your coach. You can email your coach. We keep you on track. We share our own kind of tips and tricks to getting the book done. And we have this event that goes for 90 days. And we are actually running 2 of them this year, which is wild. So we have Novel 90 Summer Edition, which is going to be focusing on shorter works, so under 50,000 words. This is a great opportunity for that series starter, for your lead magnet, for a novella. And then we're having our second annual Novel 90 Writing Challenge that starts in October. And this is the big one. This is where you can write a full-length novel, just like thousands of other authors did last year. And the best part about it is it's 100% free. So we actually open up a couple of the features in AutoCrit, something like the productivity, if you like your stats. So we open up some of those stats things. You get a free account. We have some of the features unlocked. You can go to any of these events for free. You can register for free. There's no gimmicks. It's just you, your story, and a team of writers cheering you on. We have, like, if you aren't familiar with Planner, Plantser, and Pantser, Planner is if you love your outlines, your structure, you'd like to know where your story is headed. Plantsers, like me, you like a little planning, a little discovery, and a lot of like chaotic creative energy. That's how I describe us. And Pantser is a true discovery writer. You're going to jump in head first and like see where the story takes you. So beyond all of that, we don't just want you to write your book. We want you to publish your book. So we have a lot of resources that we've built in about marketing, about business things. We have some self-paced resources that'll be available in Basecamp. There's a thriving writers community inside of AutoCrit. Yeah, like that's
Right.
Novel 90. We're really excited about it, and registration is open. We'd love to have anyone who wants to join and get that book done. I know that if you're thinking in the authorpreneur mindset, we have our short story challenge, which starts in May. So you could do a short story, which you could use as your bonus material lead magnet. Then you could do a novella to start your series, and then you could complete a full novel in the fall. And all of a sudden, what would that do to your author business if you got those 3 things done by the end of the year? I mean, it is April 23rd.
Yeah.
What would that do? I think it would do positive things.
Right. Well, and I'm thinking too I'm curious to know how many of these authors are you seeing that are like, this is the first, because that was one of the things about NaNoWriMo too.
Yep.
Was that it was like, if you've ever wanted to write a book, this is your chance. And so it was bringing like new writers to it. Are you seeing some of that as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're seeing so many new writers. We're seeing people that from every walk of life, from all these different age groups. You know, we had someone who said that they were turning 85 and it was the first time that they'd ever sat down and actually wrote the book that they'd been thinking about for the last 40 years.
Awesome.
And then someone else was like, I'm in college and I didn't think that I could do this at the same time, and I wrote my book. And other ones are like, I am postpartum and this is my project. I'm like, man, you're ambitious and I appreciate you.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, it was a fantastic, and then we experience our coaches right alongside you. So I will be, like my Novel 90 book from last year is going live this summer on my production schedule, and you know we're in the thick of it with you. So that's something that's a little different.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. And the fact that it's free, I like that too, especially for people who are
100%.
new. That's awesome to get that support, because especially if you've never written a book before, it's daunting to some people. Or even if you have, but you're like, you need that like social aspect to. I feel like authors, writers, we're introverted. We tend to be, and maybe we tend to be, hermits. We stick to ourselves and like, I'm going to do my own writing thing, and having that social aspect to it to be able to interact with other people. I think that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, and you can interact as much or as little as you want. So some people are like, I only want to go to the writing sprints and I don't want to talk to you for the rest of the time. And that's totally fine. Other people, I swear I saw them 6 times a week. And that was fantastic as well. It's been... We are actually showing our winners. We do choose a grand prize winner at the end. If you finish the challenge, you have the opportunity to submit your first chapter. We, for each team gets a grand prize winner, and we have a short list. I will be profiling our grand prize winners from fall on our blog if you want to just follow along throughout the month of May. So that's going to be really exciting. Yeah. We had some amazing books finished in this last cycle, and I can't wait to see what we do next.
All right, that's going to do it for today, folks. I want to thank you, Bekah, for being willing to come back on the podcast. And I know we're so hard to deal with. We're just so much of an inconvenience, but no.
Oh gosh.
No, not at all. You've been great. We're going to definitely have you back on again.
Yeah, please.
To talk about some more AutoCrit stuff, talk about some more author-related stuff. I know beta readers is something I really want to pick your brain on, so maybe that's a future conversation we can have. But thank you for joining us. If you want to just anything here else you want to share with our audience before we wrap things up, I'll give you a few moments.
Oh, well, thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure to come hang out with you guys, and this has definitely been a highlight of my day today, so thank you. And just come see us over at AutoCrit. We have a put the link in the comments with how to get connected with our writing challenges. They are always 100% free. I will also put a link in if you want to try AutoCrit, but you're just kind of on the fence, we do have a special offer that I could give for our BookFunnel audience, which is $1 to try it for 14 days. We unlock all of the things and you can give it a shot and see if it will work for you. We also offer lots of one-on-one demos if you need help to figure out how to use it to the best advantage. So we are here to help you. We are 100% human-powered support as well. So, we are all writers. Like, let us help you, please.
Yeah, no.
We're here for you.
Yes, I'm AutoCrit and BookFunnel, having met you at Author Nation in person. You've been on the podcast twice. I was on your how-to marketing
how-to, yeah.
Yes, just in those interactions, like I can tell, like BookFunnel and AutoCrit, we have the same kind of vibe. And when you said you're an all-human support team, like we are the same way. So I'm like, yes, yes, exactly. We vibin'. We vibin',
exactly.
As Emma would say, right? Emma. All right. Kelly and Emma, thank you, of course, for being here as always as my co-hosts. All right, folks. Thank you again for joining us for this episode of the BookFunnel podcast. If you're watching here on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Comment below also with any of the takeaways that you might have gotten from this episode of the podcast. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else, please follow us there and leave us a review as well. It does help spread the podcast to other people like you who would be interested as well. So thank you all for watching, listening. We will see you all in the next one. Thank you for watching. Check out these other videos from BookFunnel. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel